Hi everybody, my name is Zan and welcome to Jurassic Park. Welcome to ZanM Studios. Today I'm going to be going over a project that I did recently, going from start to finish, from client acquisition and communication to post-production, editing, color grading, music selection and final delivery. So let's get right into it.
Sehr zufrieden bin ich auch mit der Arbeit vom Zan. Sehr professionell, auch das ganze Equipment, wie es aufgebaut ist. Die Führung mit mir als Neuling, aber auch die Führung mit dem Kunden. Sehr professionell, sehr hochwertig. Ein großes Dankeschön an die DAH. Ich bin überzeugt, dass wir auch ein gutes Endergebnis haben werden.
First sip of coffee. I recently did a project for a client where they asked me to do a campaign film, a testimonial of their clients giving review and daily use of life of their own products. And it was my job to convey the story, set up the entire project, shoot, film, and edit. So I'm going to break it down into a few different pieces. So we begin with contact, expectation management, exp-man, as I like to call him, exp-man, deliverables, budget, and then timeline. Those are the essential 5 pieces for section 1. Section 2, pre-production. Location, storyboard, shot list, script, or in this case, questions, scheduling, gear. Phase 3, production. Setup, light test, sound test, talent, direction, A/B cams. There we have our first 3. We have our initial phase where we have made contact with the client. Then we have pre-production. Then there's production, and let's not forget post-production. Data and file management. Data and file man. Redundancies. Redundant. C's? Oh my. Just ignore what I said. C's. And the edit is essentially the pre-edit, which is basically organizing your clips. I'm just going to do org. Then we have the rough cut, first cut, you have a second cut, and then you have final. Sometimes final is like final 1, final 2, final 3, and then delivered. This is essentially the entire walkthrough. The more preparation we have, the better, and that's where the lead time kind of goes in. The pre-phases are kind of the most important phases, right? The production day is important, but if you don't have a good pre-production phase, everything else suffers. So the idea is that in pre-production, you do a lot of preparation. All of this dictates what's happening here, and this dictates what happens here, but it all starts here, right? Obviously, this is the initial phase of the project to get things started, the initialization phase, but the pre-production is really the chunkiest part. Production might be the most expensive, but pre-production is the most essential. This is film day. This is production day. This is this is post. This is client. But here's what we're going to cover today. We're going to cover expectation management, timeline, a bit of location and storyboard and shot list, the lighting, the direction, second or final phase. I do tend to do some color grading already here. I like to see my colors while I'm editing. I mean, what's the point of editing grayed out footage? Now, a lot of times the client will come to me and say, hey, we want this. And I go, cool. My first initial question is why? What is the purpose of the thing? Why do you want this kind of video? There is no right answer. It's really more for me to understand where they are in their strategy, what is their goals, short, mid, long term, how does this fit into their actual current activities. And it's my job to come in at this point of the game, with working with the team that they have at hand, for me to deliver the best thing that I can for them. Second question, who is this for? Who is going to watch this and go, that's exactly what I needed to see, shut up and take my money? So I need to know who's going to watch it, why they're going to watch it, who's going to watch it. Channels is also the next question. Where are they going to watch this? So that tells me a lot about how we're filming, what we're filming, the length we're going to film it, what lenses I will use, what kind of color grading we will put, what kind of export settings, what format, lots of stuff. There's a lot of things that you can put on camera. It's essentially up to them. What fits into their marketing strategy? What are their needs at this point? So that's where I start. I start with the why, the who, the where, the what. If they say we want this, 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 and this, we do a pitch proposal back and forth, and that means that we're locked in. So timeline is super important, essential. I need to know if I have my crew ready, if I need a crew, what equipment will I need to rent equipment, travel, all of that stuff, right? So that all has to go into the initial first phase. That's phase uno. This is basically where you get the who, what, where, when, why. Let's move forward. Once we have the go-ahead, first I want to know about the location. Where am I shooting? Preferably, if I can go there and do location scouting myself, I will. Or somebody in the team, because essentially what's important is I need to know about the angles, the space, the lighting, where does the sun hit at what time of the day. I mean, if we're interviewing 5 people and each person takes at least an hour in the chair and maybe 20 minutes, bookending on each end, that's at least an hour and a half per person, 5 people, that's an 8-hour day. The light in that room potentially will look very different at 10 a.m. compared to 6 p.m. There's a lot that goes into it to kind of produce a unified look and still shoot it in one day. Now, in this particular project, I didn't have the chance to see the location. That was it's always a bit creepy because you kind of are left to being surprised. If you can do a scout, if you can scout the day before or the week before, do that. Storyboard. Storyboard is essential so that you have a guide. You have something to go by. You essentially will be using this as your roadmap. If you hit all of the points that you want to hit to get the emotional response that you need, you will have a higher success rate. That's it. That's all I got to say. Storyboarding happens with the client. So I initially do a storyboard, I send it there, they send it back. It's kind of a back and forth, and this takes anywhere from a couple of days to weeks, depending on the project. The shot list is essentially a result of the storyboard. It's a more technical breakdown of what the storyboard entails. FX3 on a gimbal with an 85mm lens, dolly zoom shot with, subject walking straight down center lens. Again, preparation for everything. This helps here. This helps here. This helps in here. Essentially, I'm giving you a breakdown of a lot of, traps to watch out for. Scripting, it's kind of a documentary style vibe, this interview. So it's essentially a list of questions. The questions are given to the talent beforehand, sometimes not in the correct order so that we have a little bit of spontaneity on the day, but we're not asking them about, I don't know, their favorite boat captain, right? Like we're staying on topic. Stay on topic. Gear I can circle here as well. Gear is really case-by-case basis. What's important with gear is essentially the timeline, right? You really want to be able to make sure that you have all the gear on hand. It's double check, triple check, redundancies. Moving on to phase 3. On production day, you're going to need some time to set up. Now, if you had the chance to do a location scouting, setting up goes quicker because you know where you're going to be, you know where you're going to put your lights, you know where you're going to put your negative fill, and you know where the sun is going to be because you've tracked the sun, right? You know where at the time of the day where the sun is going to be, and you can act accordingly. So this directly plays in line with this, right? So very important. If you can, definitely do a location scout. Go look at the area, check out all the angles, consider different rooms to work in, to film in. I go in with my phone, I just take video with my phone and maybe some photos just so I have some angles and I can see like where are the leading lines, where are the gaps, is there like a tree coming out of the person's head if they were to sit here, in the background. So just things to look out for. Light is crazy, guys. Lighting department, people who work with lighting, it's an art form, I would say. It's really a craft. It's so much fun, actually. For this particular project, I spoke to the client and I kind of pitched them this idea that within their industry, there are not so many videos where the lighting is not flat. Say this, what I'm sitting in right now, will be considered not flat. Lighting should be big, lighting should be soft, and lighting should be dynamic, not flat. So I have this side of my face lit, I have this corner of my face lit, and I have a dark patch here down the middle, right? If you see this here, always shoot from the shadow side, right? Try to make a 3D object out of this flat image that you're seeing of my face. Light here, dark here, so it gives you this kind of roundness. So that's the key element that you want to do. For this particular project, I incorporated what they call a book light. There are tons of videos online on YouTube. That's how I learned it and kind of perfected my version of it. But essentially, this is a book light. I have the camera here. Up here is where I have the talent. And the talent is sitting in a chair, and the chair is like this, and their legs are dangling, and they're like, hello, I'm talent. The talent is going to be looking off camera at the interviewer. And this is going to be talent. Tal. So this is camera A. Camera B. Now we haven't lit this yet, right? We're sitting in a different room every time. You have to figure out a little bit of the surroundings. A book light. I have here my Lecker book. So it's essentially a book. If I'm the subject, if I'm the talent, this side is a diffuser. And there's a light behind the diffuser hitting a reflector. The reflector is reflecting it into the diffuser, and the diffuser is lighting me up. So let me explain here. Imagine this is the interviewer, and they're sitting in a chair, and they are interviewing them. This is line of sight. The talent is not looking into the camera. The talent is also not looking into this camera. This is the A cam, kind of more of a wide, and this is the B cam, a little bit more like zoomed into their face, or maybe their hands, depending on the situation. This person is sitting essentially like this, right? They're looking this way. So 45-degree angle from them would be essentially here. So I will place a light here, and it's not just any light, it's a book light. This is a diffuser. This is going to be my reflector, and this is going to be my light. This light is going straight in the reflector and reflecting back into the diffuser, and the diffuser is giving me diffused lighting, and the size of this is like 1.5 meters across. So what happens is that when you do that, you get this kind of wraparound. You get a wraparound of the light. There's no hard lines. There's no hard shadow from their face. Even if you zoom into their skin, everything gets really soft, and that's very flattering. It feels very cozy. Instantly feels cozy. It has to be not in the line of sight of my lens here. It has to be not in the line of sight of my lens here. So this is kind of my, zone of terror right here, right? One light alone, you could work with that. Pretty dramatic though. So if I turn this off, you'll see. It's pretty dramatic. Like, it looks good, and I look good because I'm awesome, but you see how it's really dark, right? This is what they call Rembrandt. So you have this light here, and you have a little bit of here, right? Then the shadow kind of rolls off. If I went here, this is already loop lighting. If I went here, this is already too harsh. This is too dark here. But if you're here, and then you incorporate another light, then you get this roundness, right? You could even play with this other light. Like, you could turn it right down. So this is off. This is on. See that little bit of difference? Off, on, off, on. A little bit brighter. See what I mean? The rule there is a 180 rule. So you want to go 180 all the way to the other side. Here, you want the hair light. Now, the hair light doesn't have to be a book light, yeah? The hair light can be essentially many different things. I've used 100-watt lights. I've used ring lights. I've even used tube lights. As long as you have something back here completely across from your key light, from your main light, see it on my hand, right? And that's what gives it that look. It essentially gives you a line for the hair and the shoulder, and it allows the person to pop out from their background. That is the key. That is the trick. If I turn this off, you see how my shoulder is just, you know, like, what? What's happening? You know, where am I? Hello? Shoulder by? It's back. Shoulder's back. Here's my shoulder. This is essentially what I did for this project. I knew this was the thing that I wanted to do, and I explained it to the client that, hey, I'm going to be using a book light, and for book lighting, I need time. Time is of the essence. Again, expectation management. I want them to understand the look that I would like to do for them, and I want them to understand what it takes to get that look. It is all about time. Time is the one resource that we never get back, and time is the one resource that we never seem to have enough of in any project, with or without budget. Even when there is budget, there's never enough time for everything, right? That's just how it goes. You have to deal with that, the stress. You have to manage your time. You have to prioritize. You have to say goodbye to some things. You got to keep the stuff you really, really want to do. And I really, really wanted to do a book light. I said, this is it. This is the look you want. The look you want, the soft thing. You want a corporate video with some Netflix sprinkled on top. That's how you do it. You need a book light. That is the thing right here. This is kind of my go-to formula, what I call Netflix style documentary lighting. I can't write anymore. With these two lights, my book light here, reflecting off the reflector into the diffuser, diffusing the light across talent. Then I have the hair light to give them a little bit of a rim, right? That helps. Now, how do I enunciate this shadow, the face shadow? So imagine you're sitting in a box, in a room, it's all white. You need to block some of that white. And that's where you come in with negative fill harmonica. No, negative fill. Negative fill is essentially the same thing as the diffuser, but the diffuser is white. And the negative fill is black. It's black as my heart. Negative fill is essentially the entire way here, this blue line. And it's a big, essentially a big wall of black fabric, black cardboard, black paper. That's it. It just blocks the reflection, and it gives you this little bit of darkness. Negative fill is so important. You know, I would rather, if I had to choose, like, do I need the two lights or a negative fill? I would rather take one light, one book light, and a negative fill. And that alone, you can do a lot. What about sound? Sound is very important. I have redundancies for everything. One, I had a clip mic on the talent. Then, behind them here, I also have a stand is pointing a mic at them. That's my first redundancy. So I have the clip mic, which is the original sound. Then I have the mic, that's the first redundancy. And I have a second redundancy, a third audio source, a shotgun microphone pointed at them on the camera. This gives me 1, 2, 3. Now I know what you're saying is then that overkill. I'm telling you, it's better to overkill in this case, because mics are, I don't know what it is, but there's always a problem, right? I mean, that's why I really respect sound engineers, because they kind of live it's like the quantum realm or something, you know? Like, we're all here in the production room, and they're like in their zone, and they really have to focus. So sounds, more than 50% of the video is sound. It will carry you. What is voiceover? Voiceover is carrying you through B-roll. I mean, B-roll is essentially not the most important content that you will see in a video. That's why it's called B-roll. But it's the voice of the person that's carrying you from A to B to B to A to B, right? Through the story. That's why sound is super important. Moving on to direction. I worked closely with the client because I knew that they wanted to do interviews. Interviews are really fun. They're really complex, but they're kind of simple, you know? Everybody is camera shy. It doesn't matter how often you've been on there. I get camera shy. Even the best of the best still get nervous in front of the camera every now and then, but it is a muscle and you can exercise it. That means that it's not magic. There are ways to make a person feel comfortable. I still did all the preliminary things. I coached my client how to conduct the interview, how to be kind of a fly on the wall, present the open question, and then kind of step back and let the talent speak for themselves. Wait for uncomfortable silences and then wait a little bit longer, because that's the moment where the person in the chair will think, okay, I should keep going, and then they kind of say the thing that they haven't said yet. You want to extract all of it out of them in the most comfortable way so that later you have like a smorgasbord plethora of colors and ideas and words and phrases that you can kind of stitch together into a story. So it's a kind of a delicate process, but it's not rocket science. I had a great time working with the client to kind of brief them and coach them within like a day, right? Like on a road trip in the car, on how we would conduct the interview, when to ask the question, in which order to ask the questions, right? How do you butter up the person, make them feel comfortable? So that's what happened in this case. It worked really well. There were times where I had to direct a little bit, where I said, okay, hey, can we ask this question again? And could you start the answer in this way? One of the most important things to remember when you're conducting an interview for a documentary or any kind of campaign film, whether it's a testimonial or any kind of talking head, right? You want them to insert the question into the answer. If I ask you, hey, how are you feeling today? And you just say, good. And if all I have to work with in terms of clips is just the person sitting there saying, good. It's like, good what? Good sandwich? Good stockyard. If they say, hey, can you put the question into the answer? I say, how are you feeling today? Then they could start with, today I'm feeling good. And then you just be quiet and then they'll continue. So these are kind of some tricks that really help. Again, pre-production. Prepare your questions. Prepare your interview process. Inform the talent what the topic is, how we're going to move from subject to subject, you know, categories, things like this. Inform them, like, good to know. Please try your best to put the question in the answer. Please don't be offended if we stop you and ask you to repeat to put the question in the answer. Please bring 2 or 3 different color tops and shirts depending on the shoot. They might or might not work with the background. There's a lot of things that go into it, and that's why it's so much fun, because you get to work with people and you get to get them to tell them their stories, whatever the story might be. Today it could be a digital product or solution that some client is using for some other client. Tomorrow it could be a life story of somebody, you know, crossing the desert. Moving on to the edit phase, this particular project was not so intensive actually, because again, we did a lot of preparation in pre-production. We had a good storyboard. We had a good idea of where this was going. We knew that we wanted a sequence mid-video, which is a bit more expressive, a bit more artsy. During pre-production, we already had selection of music. I had sent over about 5 or 6 different options, and I said, give me your top 3. I will end up using 2 of them or things like this. I actually ended up using all 3 parts of them, snippets here and there. For color grading, like I said, I really like to color grade in steps. Now, I'm not going to get too in-depth about the color grading, because color grading is a rabbit hole of information, and please write in the comments below if you want me to go deeper into color grading. I personally use DaVinci Resolve for all of my edits, so everything, so audio, video, color, everything. I think it's one of the best options out there, and I like their business model. I like that it's a lifetime subscription. It's a one-time payment, and you just get everything forever. That seems to be working for me. Specifically for the color grading of this video, what we wanted to do was stick to natural colors, tone down, and let the content speak for itself. Now, what does that actually mean? That means don't blow out the highlights. That means don't warp the hues too much. So this kind of toned down brown, gray, green, blue, earth colors. It also allows the cars in the background to kind of pop and have their moment. This is a crazy warehouse that I had the privilege of filming in. Some crazy cool cars there. As you can see here, in this particular shoot, I had 2 cameras. Both Sony cameras, but not the same camera, so there is slight variation, so you have to be aware of your color grading levels. I really like how it turned out. You let me know in the comments what you think. So thanks everybody. I know that was a bit of a long one. Essentially, it's a case study that I'm doing, and I think if you see the entire picture, right, it's more than the sum of all its parts. And a lot of things go into this, a lot of decision making goes into this, and it's a simple video, but I think the time that we put in, that I got to work with this client, and for the output that we were able to achieve, I'm really proud of that. And I think there's more coming. I just love the look of this, and I can't wait to do my next one. If you have any questions or comments, please write them below. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. It really helps. Yeah, I'm trying to grow this channel. Like, come on guys, you know, give it to me. Click on the little bell icon, and I hope to see you soon. Okay, bye.